What's up, everyone? How you guys doing? And today we are going to talk about artifact sets. Now, everyone knows that artifacts are the bane of everyone's existence, but some artifacts definitely do give tremendous power to your characters, but others don't. Now, a year ago, I made a video about artifact efficiency, where I talked about which domains are worth your resin. But because the artifacts are a lot more, you're able to get your artifacts a lot more easier. You have faster additions to the crafting bench. You have the ability to actually craft an individual piece. I thought that, you know what, let's judge the artifacts based on their own merits. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to make a tier list and we are going to talk about it. So let's begin. All right, so talking about the tier list, we have 6 tiers. All right, top tier, best slot for multiple characters. I would say like about 7 to 8 characters at least. And they're very good universal sets. The grade, maybe they fall a little bit short. Maybe they're not best in slot for some characters, they're best slot for others. And then, it made the pools a little bit smaller as well. So for the good, it tends to be sets that maybe not the best slots for their characters, but are good alternatives if you have spares lying around. The niche are probably best slots for like 1 or 2 characters. So these are like, for example, your Alakino and Cloren, being for the Harmonic Whimsy, for example. The meh are just underwhelming sets. They can be probably good for 1 or 2 characters, but generally you will not consider them in most cases. And the Burn to Ashes are the sets that you will want to destroy unless you have an off piece that is good. Yeah, but don't go farming, don't go crafting, don't go strong boxing, all that kind of stuff, right? It is really bad. Don't do it. But by the way, as a side note, the last time I did this a year ago, people complained that my camera was blocking the tier list. So thanks for telling me I'm ugly, everyone. That being said, jokes aside, we're going to be ranking this and we'll probably move some around as time goes by. All right, let's talk about Gladiator's Finale first. In my opinion, this set is like the good standard. This is like, it's never best itself for any character, but I feel like this one is always like the good alternative, right? Especially if your character is Sword, Claymore, or Polearm and use their normal attacks. It's just a good alternative for characters like Arlecchino, or your Ayato, right? All these characters. Very good alternative if you don't want to farm the best slot because it can be a little bit more niche, right? Or you're just using this as a temporary alternative while you're farming the best slot. And so in my opinion, Gladiators goes into the good, right? It's not that flashy, but I think that is the good standard that all artifact sets should look at. Going over Wanderer's Troop, basically this is the Bow and Catalyst version with EM. So you kind of want to have reactions with this. Generally the kind of general as well, but you see that the the character base for this set tends to be a lot smaller. You can probably use like a Ganyu in the Melt team, Inari as well, but generally you can see that there are less options as compared to Gladiator. And so for this, I'm actually going to put this in niche. As I mentioned, the character base is just too small. Doesn't really compete as well as the Gladiators. It can be good, but it's just that there are less characters that use it. All right, let's start with Mondstadt. For the Electro Domain, we have the Thundering Fury. I think it's a pretty good set. You get a lot of damage bonus for electro-based reactions. The skill cooldown is also pretty nice. I think the only sad thing is that your sub DPS off-field characters don't really benefit from the skill cooldown decrease because you have to be on-field for that to happen, but can be a really good damage increase for your electro-based main DPS hyper carries. So your Sinos, your Kachings, your Clorens can use this very, very well. I would say Thundering Fury goes into great. I think it's a very good set. It doesn't go into top tier as much because depending on the character, it can be like the second best slot and stuff like that. But I still think it's a very good set. On the contrary, Thunder Soother, not really that good. 2-piece kind of useless. The 4-piece can be okay, but generally mono Electro tend to be weaker. Who knows, maybe with Lunar Charge coming out in Not Cry, with Inefa and stuff like that, this set might get a little bit better, but I doubt it. I think there'll be other alternatives as we go into Not Cry. And so for this set, we are going to put it in meh. Not really the worst of the worst, but I think that it is very close to being trashed. Maybe give it a year, it'll probably be at the bottom. Well, let's talk about the Viridescent Venerus set. Very good for animal characters. Maybe not for the main DPSs because they want to have like more damage and stuff like that. They don't want to swirl. But for these characters like your Kazuha, like your Sucrose, very good. Not only do you increase the swirl damage, you also decrease the elemental rest, means that your other teammates of the Pyro, Electro, Cryo, and Hydro will do more damage. While people argue that it's not as easy to double swirl nowadays, I'm still gonna give it in the top tier. It is incredibly good. And I think it's deserving of a top tier spot even till now. The fact that all animal characters are still recommended the VV set just shows how good it is. Now, surely with a set that good, its partner set is also as amazing. Maiden's Beloved is trash. We all know that just pure healing doesn't cut it out, right? And all this set gives just a lot of healing, but we want sets that give buffs to the teams. So Maiden's Beloved, unfortunately, you are going to burn. Maiden's Beloved will be the first set we burn to ashes. All right, climbing up Dragon Spine, we have the Blizzard Strayer. Very good for cryo characters, especially if you're playing in freeze teams. Obviously, freeze isn't as good but now because less enemies can be frozen. You still get the 20% crit rate from them being affected by cryo. That being said, it is not as good as it once was. It was a very top tier set a year or even 2 years ago. Nowadays, it is just okay. It's good, it's great, but it's not the best anymore. It's definitely gone down the pack, but I still think it's a pretty good set overall. And so for Blizzard Strayer, I'm going to put it in great. I think it's still pretty good. Unfortunately, it definitely would have been top tier a year ago or even 2 years ago, but it has fallen off from grace ever since then. Out of Depth, in my opinion, is basically the Hydro Gladiator set. It is basically the standard set you're going to give to your Hydro characters. After the elemental skill, you get the normal attack and charge attack damage bonus, which is very nice. It suits a lot more characters like Neuvillette, your Tartaglia, your Ayatos, but you can see that these characters have better Bastion slots. And so this is just like the Gladiator, right? It is just, it's good, but never the best. And so for the Heart of Depth, it's just gonna go into good, right? It's fine, right? It's basically Hydro Gladiators in my opinion. And now that we're on the border of Monster and Liyue, talk about the tenacity of the Millelith, right? HP is very nice, and the 4-piece bonus is able to give you attack and shield strength increase. This has a very short duration of 3 seconds, but can be activated every 0.5 seconds. And if your characters that are able to trigger that skill multiple times, like your Zhongli Pillar, your Kokomi, your Baiju, then this can actually be pretty nice to upkeep. And so for tenacity, I think it is generally a great set. It's very underrated. Now with Skirk being released, people are saying like, oh, use tenacity on Furina. It does less damage, but she buffs the team a lot more. I think that's pretty true. So I think that tenacity is a very good set, underrated, and actually is very useful in many situations. Now the Pale Flame, very good for physical. This is the superior physical set. You get the increase of your attack, but also the 2-piece physical bonus. Once you get those 2 stacks, increases up to 50%, which is equivalent to 2 pieces. So it's just a lot of physical damage. Now you can argue that physical has fallen off, but if you still play physical, this is the best in slot. And so Pale Flame goes into niche because it is niche. It is niche for the physical playstyle, and so that's where it belongs. Now let's talk about Crimson Witch of Flames. They say that this is the mirror to the Thundering Fury. Pyro damage bonus, very nice. Increase in Overloaded, Burning, and Burgeon, Vaporize and Melt for 40%, and then 50% for Vaporize and Melt. And then for your, whenever you use a skill, you increase the pyro damage up to a maximum of about 37.5%. Generally, all this does is provide damage, and while it can be nice, we can see that for characters like Utao, for characters like even like Yoimiya, there are actually better alternatives as well. And so I think that Crimson Witch is good. Like, it's not the craziest set in the world. Like I said, it's kind of like, it just gives a lot of damage, but you see that at least for the Thundering Fury, we have this cooldown. The cooldown for the elemental skill decrease can make rotations feel a lot more flexible and fluid, whereas it's just pure damage, which is nice, but we have so much damage sources nowadays. Lava Walker, basically Pyro Thunder Soother. If I'm going to put Thunder Soother in meh, Walker also goes into meh. The only thing that kind of puts this ahead is that it's easier to play Mono Pyro, but that being said, you also have other better alternatives that they've released in recent times. And so Walker will go next to Thunder Soother. You could argue it's slightly better, so okay, fine. I'll put this right over here, but that's where it's going to be. Top tier support set. The Noblesse Oblige elemental burst damage increase 2-piece, very good. And for the 4-piece, we can see that you're able to buff your team's attack by 20% for 12 seconds after using that same burst. Only one per character, but it's still insanely strong. Use this on your supports to actually give an attack boost. Obviously, it doesn't work if you have Neuvillette on your team or stuff like that. That being said, majority of characters in the game are attack scaling, and so this will benefit a lot of characters. And so Noblesse will join BV set in top tier. It is still very strong to this day. Blase Chivalry, very bad. Right, the 4-piece. Other defeating opponents increases charge attack damage by 50%. Does Eula even use charge attacks? In the stamina reduction cost, who uses physical that uses charge attack? I don't even think Eula uses charge attacks. So yeah, honestly, this is the set that like the 2-piece is better than the 4-piece. But just scrap it. So Blase Chivalry should be burned to ashes. Right, it is not that good. All right, the last 2 artifacts of the year 1 domains. We have Arcade Petra, got a lot more popular recently with Shilonen because you only can use one Cinder City in the team. People use the Arcade Petra on Shilonen so that you're able to give the 4-piece bonus on top of Cinder City. Basically, when we collect an elemental shard from Crystallize, the element will be given as damage bonus to the team, which is nice, right? Obviously, it's you have to pick it up and stuff like that. But it is still a pretty good boost, but it is still very situational, very niche. You have to have a Geo character. You generally want the Geo character to use this, but generally, you know, besides Shilonen and Zhongli, yeah, it can be a little bit rough to find a character that can use this set very well. Unfortunately, I'll put this in meh. It could be niche, but even on Shilonen, it's not really even best for her. You still want Cinder City if you can. Retracing Bolide, ho. Very bad 2-piece bonus. For the 4-piece, it's fine, but you start to see that later pieces will start to give more bonuses. And yeah, Retracing Bolide is just inferior. You have to have the shield, stuff like that. So generally, yeah, this is worthless. So yeah, my argument is that there are better alternatives. There's no need to farm this. There are sets that beat it in every shape or way. You could argue that for some characters, you will prefer Wanderers. You could want to prefer Crimson Witch. But I don't think there's any world where you prefer the Retracing Bolide. And so let's go over the Inazuma artifacts. Let's talk about Shimenawas. Now, remember I earlier mentioned that there's a set that can give more than 40% bonus for normal and charge attack. That's Shimenawas, man. You use Shimenawas on your Emiya, you can choose Shimenawas on your Wanderer. Much better. You have a much better bonus and stuff like that. You also have the plus 18% attack on your 2-piece that gives you just more damage for these characters. Hey, Shimenawas is pretty good. It is niche, right? But I think it's still pretty good. So Shimenawas, I'm gonna put this in good for now. I might put this to niche, but I think that good is a very good spot. The GOAT set for all sub DPS characters that use the elemental burst. Emblem gives you so much energy and then rewards you for building up energy because that gives you damage bonus for your elemental burst. So honestly, any sub DPS use energy. Yelan, Xiangling, Xingqiu, Beidou, I can't think of any more. Your Mona, even your Dea can use this. Your Rider Shogun can use this, top tier DPS set. The fact that people use this to this day is pretty insane. Top tier for sure. Very good set. I think that for these characters, you still want to use them. You know, I still use my Xiangling set from like 2021. My Xingqiu still has this from 2021. Very good. Yelan uses it. And when more characters get released that are using elemental burst, it can be a very good option still for them. Now let's move on to the Husk of Opulent Dreams. Very good for defensive Geo units, your Ito, your your Chiori, your Albedo. That being said, very niche still because it's a very small group. Mono Geo is a very niche team comp, and so while it's very good for the team comp, it is still a very small group of characters that are able to utilize this for now. And so Husk definitely goes into niche. right? You don't have a lot of geo characters that can use this. Even characters like Navi and Shiloden don't use this. So I think that niche is a very good place to put. Now, the Ocean Hued Clam, this was what made Chi relevant for like 10 days. Basically, if you have overflowed healing, it will be recorded. Or not, it will overflow, but if you have healing inclusive of overflow healing, it will be recorded, and once it hits a limit, it will do damage. Right, that's basically what it does. So it basically makes your healers like your Kokomi into a battle healer because they can just do some additional damage as they are doing some on-field stuff. That being said, it is still like, this is one group of characters that can use this properly. Like obviously Chi can use it because she heals like crazy. Kokomi obviously because she can heal very often. But generally, this pool of these characters can use this is very small. The very heavily underutilized mechanic, unfortunately. So definitely in the niche category, not many characters actually use this as much. And now back to Lyria. Oh gosh. All the Xiao mains, man. You guys should have moved on to Marashuse, man. But anyways, basically this gives you a lot of attack. After using your elemental burst, after your HP decreases, which obviously works with Shao, but also with Risley and Kami as well. But generally, both of them have better sets, and even Shao has better alternatives in this day and age. So generally, it's just a very niche set. It's okay, but it's like eh. And so it never goes into niche, right? Unless you have the specific DPS characters, it definitely deserves a niche place. Now let's talk about Echoes of an Offering. Also very niche set. Mostly it basically what you want is that you want your characters to hit more normal attacks so they're able to trigger the Valley Right more often. Every time you fail, this increases the odds of getting it. So you have a 36% base chance and increases by 20% every time until you get the Valley Right, which gives you an attack bonus for your normal attack. So this is obviously depending on your character's attack speed, which you can boost, but also it affects things like your internet ping, your device, your mouse. So like it's already bad that the RNG in this game screws us all, and then you talk about like our technology. Hey, screw that. All right, Echoes Offering can be good in on paper, but there's just so much to it that makes it so convoluted. It is still pretty good on characters like Ayato or characters like even Cloran. But that being said, it is what it is. It's just okay. Very niche set. Don't go all your way to farm this, right? It is not really that worth it. And look at it, right? The next artifact domain is right next to it. Reboot memories. You're playing Dendro teams. This is good. The Dendro Restret. What the the Dendro Restret, amazing for Dendro based team comps. You can argue that Dendro has fallen off a little bit. It's more of like, in my opinion, Dendro was so high that they just kept the status quo for Fontaine and Natlan, and so that's why everything else has just gone over it because they have not changed Dendro that much. But anyways, if you still play Dendro as I do, it can be very good and very one of the staples in a Dendro based team comp. And so for that, I'm going to put this into the top tier still. I still think it's the top tier artifact set for us for the team comp that you're playing, which is Dendro based. All right, and then Gilded Dreams. This gives you Elemental Mastery, and then for 4 piece, depending on what your party consists of, whether they're the same or different elemental type, you get different bonuses. So if they're the same type, you get Elemental Mastery, and then if they're different, you get Attack. Can be pretty good still, because obviously with your characters or with Elemental Mastery teams or Elemental reactions, you want to have different teams or different elements because they generate different reactions. So generally, Gilded Dreams will be the way to go for like Hyper Bloom teams and stuff like that. And so I'm going to put this in Great because generally for some characters, they do have decent alternatives. Thundering Fury is one of them. And so it can be like, do you want more damage or do you want more flexibility, which Thundering Fury gives? Now going over to everyone's favorite place to explore, the desert. No one said that. But anyways, Desert Pavilion. A good set for your Anemo DPS characters, can benefit all three, which are, oh, okay, not all three, because obviously Chaska doesn't benefit, but benefits your characters like your Shao, your Wanderer, and also your Hazel. Increase in speed, increase in damage, attack speed, sorry, increase in your plunging, normal, and charge damage, which is very nice. Just that it only benefits like 3 characters. Hence, Desert Pavilion also going to niche. Now, the Flowers of Paradise Lost, a pretty good EM set, especially playing Bloom, Hyperbloom, or Burgeon. Does a lot of damage. It can start from 40%, it can go up to 80%. If you're the max stacks, that's just a lot of damage if you're playing into these team comps. I think it's alright. I think because Bloom, Hyperbloom, and Burgeon, they are so, it's just a big umbrella that it can be considered above niche. So yeah, I think this goes into the good category. As I mentioned, very good in that there are a lot of teams that can make use of this, especially with Kinish. Obviously now Burgeon can be used a lot more. So it's still pretty decent. EP, more desert stuff. Nymph's Dream, holy crap, this is very wordy. Hydro damage, and then also gives you stacks of the mirrored Nymph stacks, which increases your attack and your hydro damage. Now this can come from your normal charge, plunging, skill, elemental burst, right? This can last 8 seconds, and then these are all independent, and these stacks basically helps you do more damage. It is slightly better than the Heart of Depth for characters like Ayato, and also for Chao, your Tatalia. But generally also very niche because it only really benefits these 2 characters, unless you have like a C6 Yalan, I guess, but that's besides the point. So another niche set, hey, welcome to the club, boy. Warukasha's Glow, HP 2-piece, elemental skill and burst damage increase, and it gets even higher if you take damage. Sounds like it's good for Nilou, sounds like it's good for Dea, but Dea has crazy ER requirements. Maybe you want to use the emblem set. Nilou has other sets that she can use, like even like 2-piece HP can be good for maximizing her passive. That's a much better thing. So anyways, Moral Crusher's Glow, not really the best slot for any character. And so I'll say that Moral Crusher goes into meh. I think that, you know, maybe there'll be a character like a bruiser type character that will actually make use of this. But so far, it is not really worth your time. Alright, going through Fontaine, let's talk about Marishuse Hunter. This is a very hard one. I thought long and hard about this. Right, 2-piece gives you normal charge attack, which is very nice. A 4-piece gives you crit rate, depending on whether your HP fluctuates, up to 36%. Thinking about this, right, I was thinking, obviously, many people argue this is a very good set, top tier, if you have Furina, which I agree. But what if you don't have Furina? But then again, there are a lot of characters that actually can use this. Your Neuvillette, your Lini, your Risley, your Garming, your Hutao, your Shao. And so I was thinking about it, you know what? That's probably a good enough character to actually put this at the very top. I would say though, you would be justified if you argued that this was just only great. But looking into both perspectives, you could also argue that in a best in slot team comp, this could be top tier as well. And so to give myself to give anyone the benefit of the doubt, I'm going to put this in top tier because there are just a lot of characters that can use it even without Furina. And then if you do have Furina, everyone just are able to use it. All right, going over Golden Troop, a lot of elemental skill damage. 2-piece gives you 20, 4-piece gives you 45, to a potential of 70 if they go off field. Of course, the effect can reduce from 70 to 45 if you're on field for too long. Very good damage. It's just a lot of damage for your off-field sub-DPS characters, especially for those that do not need the ER, which then you prefer to use a set like the Emblem or Seventh Fate. But generally, for the Golden Troop, that's a very good set. A lot of damage. It just provides a lot of damage to your team. That being said, I'm not going to put it in top tier because it just only provides damage. To provide much else for the team, it is more for the individual characters. But we see that there's so many characters that can actually make use of Golden Troop. Your Furina, your Fischl, your Nahida can use it, your Escoffier can use this, your Yaimiko can use this, your Albedo can use this. So it's a very good set. It's great. actually. But unfortunately, it doesn't really provide more for the team, which yeah, so that's really that. I can see an argument to put this here. Maybe I might shift these things around the more we look into it. Right, Songs of Days Past. So similar to the Ocean Hued Clam, but instead of just doing damage itself, you're basically, based on your healing, you're gaining this stacks of Yearning, which after a while will convert it into the Waves of Days Past, where you will be able to provide additional damage based on 8% of the total healing amount. And this only has a stacks of like 5 times. So, and it works similarly to how like Shenhe's stacks work. So basically, it does provide damage bonus, especially if you're using a non-attack scaling character like your Neuvillette or your Ito, where you would otherwise want to use Noblesse on other DPS characters. So they can be good because obviously Noblesse don't affect them. But generally, the pool is very small. It is very niche. There are some situations where you want to use it. It can be fine for healing and stuff like that, or giving you some output or damage. But I think that overall, it is still very niche and still not worthwhile the tremendous investment. So there you go. You go into niche. This set is basically the Navia set. Oh yeah, you can also use it for your Ningguang. But why using Ningguang? A lot of geo damage where you get crystallized, so it's basically perfect for Navia. Niche, despite Navia being my favorite character, or one of my favorite characters, that being said, still niche, right? I spent too long farming for this, by the way. More niche, attack, oh my god, how many attack plus 18s do we have? Alright, basically, Born Life characters, Cloran, Arlecchino, full stop, right? And you could also argue that they have other alternatives like Gladiators and also Thundering Fury. So, yeah, pick your poison. Right, but still very niche set, only benefits 2 characters. Doesn't look like it's gonna revisit Bond of Life anytime soon. And so this set goes into a niche, right? It can be very good for those characters. It is the best in slots, but like I said, good alternatives, and also just 2 characters that can use this. Unfinished Revelry. You thought the niche was going to end? Nah, it is still going on. Basically just good for burning teams. It can be used on, but obviously associated mostly with Amelie and maybe Kinish, although Kinish would rather use the Obsidian Codex. But can be used on like burn melt teams as well. So there are good places to use them. But for like your Risley and even your Ganyu, there are better alternatives like the Marechaussee and also the Wandering Troop. No, yeah, Wanderer's Troop. Another set becomes the niche. And finally, we are in Netland. I've talked for too long. The Scroll of the Hero of oh my god. The Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. Very good set for your Netland sub DPS and supports. Not only does it give them more energy, but also provide elemental damage for your team depending on the reaction that you produce. So for example, if you're doing like a Geocrystallize, not Geocrystallize, a Pyrocrystallize with Shilonen and Mawika, then you have bonus for both Geo and also for what's this thing called? Geo and Pyro, which is going to be very nice. Yeah, 12% for all characters, additional 28 for Night Souls or Netland characters, to a total of 40. And because we do have a good amount of sub DPS characters in the game, I'm going to put this into the top tier. Sub DPS and supports, we have Shilonen, Sitlali, Iansan, Auroron. Yeah, they're pretty decent. Even Mawika can use this. You know what? I'm going to put this in great, because it can be a little bit smaller of a subsection. Technically, all characters can use it, but just for the 12% damage bonus, I think there are better ways to get it. You get some of that too. Yeah, there's better ways, man. Don't clamor out just for the 12%. On the other hand, Obsidian Codex. Now, Netland released so many DPS characters that use the Night Soul mechanic. Right, you get damage bonus from the 2Ps, you get crit rate from the 4Ps when you consume 1 Night Soul point. Hey, this is just a massive damage increase. Not only does it give you so much crit rate, it means that you're focused on other stats so that you're able to maximize your damage. And so for the Obsidian Codex top tier, I think that because of the amount of characters it affects, there's so many Netland DPS, Kinish, Molani, Chaska, Mawika. You can also use this on your characters like what's that guy's name? Veresa. Yeah, I think it is top tier. I definitely think it do. You know what? I'm gonna put Cinder City in top tier as well. Because if I'm going to put Obsidian in top tier, I think Cinder City has to be top tier as well. And we have arrived at the last artifact set. Finale of the Deep Galleries. If you have Skulk, it's only for Skulk, guys. It's only for Skulk. Okay, yeah, 2-piece cryo, but this is just a Skulk. This is just a Skulk domain. Just a Skulk artifact set. Lastly, last but not least, and finally I can rest. The Long Night's Oath. 2-piece gives plunging attack damage, nice. And after the equipped character uses plunging attack, charge attack, elemental skill, they will gain stacks of Radiance Everlasting, which will increase their charge attack further. This means that maximum it is 100% plunging attack damage. Now the thing is that besides Shao and Veressa, not all characters can fulfill all these requirements. So for example, like a character like what's the name? Character like Gaming, for example, can't fulfill the charge attack one that's easily. So there's some loss to that. Yeah, that means that you want to use some other artifact sets, but still, I think that this will this be niche or good? The thing is that if you have Shen Yun, like almost every character becomes a plunge attack character. So that is also like a big like, you know what? To give the benefit of the doubt, because I give the benefit of the doubt for Marishuse Hunter for Farina. I'm gonna give the benefit of the doubt for Long Night's Oath if you have Shen Yun. That's how it is. And this is the final tier list. Now, obviously, all these sets are. I think that most of these sets are fine, right? I wouldn't discriminate you if you are farming for the finale set, because obviously Skulk is very strong. I would say I will avoid here. Definitely avoid these 3. These 4 are like maybe Arcade Petra can have some use. But generally, as you start to go down the list, you start to see that unless you have the characters that you want, you will definitely see that, oh, you know what, I don't want to farm this set. You don't have Chlorine and Alakino, this definitely comes to 0 and stuff like that. You don't have Wanderer, this becomes a 0. You don't have, yeah, generally that's how it is. You don't have a physical character, this is like bam. But I think that this is a pretty okay list. Let me know in the comments down below. As you can see, this is a very long video. My voice is going to die. It is dying. And let me just pop up my webcam. Where's my webcam? Oh, what up, people? So yeah, this is the final list. I'm blocking the Burn to Ashes, but do you want to see Retracing Bowlight, guys? But anyways, thank you for watching this video. Much appreciated. My voice is almost dead because talking for like 40 minutes to record this video without any cuts is painful. And if you appreciate me going through that pain, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good YouTube stuff. Follow me on Twitch. Yeah, I stream quite often, so that's good. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Hopefully this pops off as hard as the last year's one. Just kidding. But anyways, thank you for watching this video. Much appreciated. I'm going to rest my voice right now. I'm just kidding. I'm going to do live stream right now. So I'll see you guys soon. Until next time, take care, stay healthy. I forgot my words. It's been a long day. Be good to yourselves and the people around you. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.